What's up, Spider-Man? What's up, Spider-Man Nation? This is episode number 5 of Spider-Man's Tangled WebShow we got here. I feel like we've been away for a little while, and that's an accurate feeling because we have. Let me just say right off the bat, we apologize for that. It's a very unexpected hiatus, and when I say very unexpected hiatus, I mean very unexpected hiatus. If you can tell, I am not in my usual location right now. I have moved houses, and a lot of major things have happened in my life in the past month and a half. So, yeah, let's just say I've had some stuff to do, and these guys were courteous enough to give me the time I needed to get my stuff in order, I guess, if I shall say. But let's introduce you to those guys.
Short, John. Everything that can go wrong did go wrong with you the last few months. And you're literally Peter Parker. You are literally the Peter Parker with the Parker luck right now.
No, am I Steve Ditko Peter Parker or Brand New Day Peter Parker? There's a big difference there, and I don't really like it.
Well, if you're angry at the world and you want to kill Ned Leeds and rip his head off, then you're Steve Ditko, angsty teenager.
You're a douchebag, then you're Brand New Day.
If you're, oh shucks, everything that can bad happens to me, like the whole fact that I can't apply for a job because it's only on the internet because Peter Parker can't go to a fucking library and apply online, or he's on unemployment and they want to prove him because he screwed over the mayor, where you would still get unemployment because my mom had to get unemployment at the same time, and no, they don't approve you for that shit, and yet he walks out anyways with blood on the trail. Yeah. If you're that shit, you're that Peter Parker. But if you're angsting, want to rip somebody's head off, you're the Ditko angsting teenager Peter Parker.
I tend to think of myself as more of the Andrew Garfield kind of head down Peter Parker. And also, just so you know, I couldn't apply for a job if I wanted to because I have yet to get a teaching degree, so I can't apply for a job in the field I desire. And I'm also not even 18 yet, so there's a bit of a problem there.
I'm certified, so I can get a job as a chef right now, as a sous chef. But I'd rather stay in school first.
Yeah, I don't have a teaching degree yet, so I can't go teach students. All right, that's James right there, the guy who just said he's a sous chef. Say hello to the people, James.
No, I said I could be a sous chef because I got the certification, but I want to stay in school first. I don't want people to start calling me Chef James, and then it comes back, hey, you're not a chef yet.
Chef James, go make me food. James, go make me a sandwich. All right, that guy right there is Jan, who just laughed at my horrible joke right there. Say hello to the people, Jan.
What's up? I finally got my driver's license. Been driving around town in my dad's car.
I got a Taco Bell wrapper for you if you want that. I got a Taco Bell wrapper.
I drove to my school, and we only have 2 cars, so my dad keeps his car, so I just take it whenever he doesn't use it, but I can't drive to school because I don't have a car. But I drive, I drove to the grocery store this weekend, and I drove to Taco Bell last weekend. So.
Hey, true story. When I first got my driver's license, true story, I went to go pick up my friend because he too also got his driver's license the same day as I did. I passed my test flying colors, and I was so excited to pick him up. And then I found out he failed his test. Because he got so scared, it was like an episode of SpongeBob. He got scared and went right through the wall.
see here, like when you said that you got your driver's license on the same day as him, all I was picturing was that Drake and Josh episode where they got their driver's license. Well, and then of course Josh got a ticket for doing whatever, I don't even remember. But yeah.
It's that TV show that every TV show does. It's either A, you fail the test, or B, your first second as a driver, you get a ticket for something. Every TV show does that.
I had to wait 3 hours for mine because I had to wait in this because I was stupid and went on the last day of the month where everyone was trying to get their stuff renewed. So I had to wait.
Of course.
So I had to wait 3 hours.
Dude, the guy who was giving me my test, he wasn't even qualified to drive. He was he's telling me because he's some young college kid who clearly doesn't want this job. He was like, you can go a little bit faster. I won't mark you down. No, I want to pass the test and not have it come back and bite me on the ass. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that I'm pretty sure the person who gives the test should be able to ace the test with flying colors. Maybe I'm just insane, but I think that's how it works.
I would agree with that. That should be how it works.
Oh, and also I finally gave in to the dark side and picked up Star Wars on Blu-ray.
The crappy pre-trilogy? or the?
No, it's both. It's original and prequel.
Well, see, the original, that's not so bad. Well, that's actually pretty good, but because those are good movies. But I don't care for the pre-trilogy.
All right, so what are we going to do with this little fifth episode here? Well, since we've been gone so long, got some comics that came out, and that's pretty much what we're going to cover today. We're not going to talk about news or anything, because to be honest, really up until about 6 hours ago, there hasn't really been any news of great significance. There was some stuff about Renew Your Vows.
And that's not even much. The Renew Your Vows stuff is kind of like Marvel, kind of like, I don't know what to explain to it, if I can just say it real quickly. It's like backhanded comments where they're all like, oh, with now thanks to Battle World and the end of the Marvel Universe and the amalgam of all the universes together, we can give the fans exactly what we know you've been asking for this. We know you want to see them married again. We're giving it to you here. We Renew Your Vows. Marry Peter and MJ with a kid. Oh, and shut up and take your medicine. We're not giving you back the marriage. It's like literally every sentence is like that.
And so, I mean, and there wasn't really that much released about it. And then, of course, we've had some, mostly with the movie stuff, it's been rumors. It hasn't been official news. So most of that stuff we're not even going to cover because, I'm sorry, I'm not going to waste our precious viewers' time with that because, to be honest, you deserve better than that. So yeah, I think what we're going to do,
and then of course the inevitable John just freaking out over every casting rumor of Peter Parker. He's not Andrew. He's not Andrew. When I saw Andrew, I saw that twinkle in his eye. Damn it. He's still.
I did see a twinkle in his eye. I did see that twinkle. Don't deny me. All right. So today we're gonna dedicate a show fully to reviews of Amazing Spider-Man. We're going to start off. We never really got to talk about the end of Spider-Verse because the last show that we did that was kind of an emergency get-together for talking about the movie news, and so we never actually talked about the end of Spider-Verse. We're going to talk about this issue and of course the several others that came after it. So we're going to start the show off with Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, Number 14, Spider-Verse Part 6. Web Warriors, it's entitled. Writer Dan Slott, Oliviera Coipel, and Giuseppe Camuncoli on pencils, and a bunch of other people on stuff that is less, obviously very important. Basically, basic rundown of the issue. People punch each other. The inheritors get locked away in that radioactive dimension that I'm going to call them the spiders. The spiders were hiding in. And basically, Karn decides to switch sides, and he helps the spiders take down the inheritors, and the issue ends with Silk basically cuddling up to Spider-Man, or actually there's a lot of Spider-Man, cuddling up to Peter Parker of Earth 616.
Yeah, you gotta.
And she says,
you gotta actually put down what number it is too.
Yeah, we got Silk and Peter of Earth 616. Cuddling up and saying that it's been a very long day. It's basically the issue in a nutshell. It's basically just fighting. It was all lead up to a massive fight that literally took place over one issue. And so I think we're just going to go around, get some general thoughts on this issue. James, we'll start with you. What are your general thoughts on Volume 3, Number 14?
I just remember all that time, like about a year ago, when the final few episodes of our last podcast that we did together, John and Jan, where I was so excited, I couldn't wait for Spider-Verse. It was going to be every fan had this fanfic of how this storyline would happen, and now we were finally going to see it. And what did we end up getting? Crap. Literally, crap. It's like the worst fanfic. If you go on CBR, Crawlspace, our forum, any website, and ask poll any Spider-Man fan across the internet about what they would do. Every bad idea that, whether they know it or not, that people will give you, Dan Slott basically put in this thing. I mean, his Spider-Man cartoon, 67, survived, but every other childhood Spider-Man that people grew up with got fucking murdered, according to him. Even though they didn't.
Spectacular.
And, and of course the new one, because they got to promote him on his own cartoon.
Yeah, because that new one sucks. So of course Marvel likes it.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know what to say. It's just crap. This fight, like you said, it's like this was all built up to Spider-Man's fight Morlun. Morlun's get betrayed. They end up in other dimension. Done now. That's what it felt like. It just was really shitty. And I guess we got confirmation that the reason why Ultimate Peter's not in there is because the story takes place before Ultimate Peter returned.
Where was that confirmation at?
I don't know, but I remember because it's been a while since I read this issue, so I went on the wiki, and that's one of the things they have underneath their notes is that it confirms that it takes place before Peter's resurrection. Because literally, all I remember about it was a big fight. I remember the betrayal and the big fight. I don't remember anything else in between the lines. I had to literally read it up on like the fan wiki to remind myself. Because I didn't want to pull off my goddamn comic.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, it's a good story. And is this the one where, or is that the next issue, the epilogue, where you have that weird moment with Spock where he doesn't want to leave and Peter literally kicks him back into his time? Is that this issue or next issue?
That's the next issue.
Okay, I'll save my points about that issue when we get to it, so I'm done now.
All right, Jan, I don't think... Let's see if you can follow James on the hate parade.
Oh, gladly. I hate this issue. Like I hated all of Spider-Verse. This is a terrible story. It has nothing that I as a fan like about Spider-Man. None of the heart, the humor, the characters. It's just plot, and I honestly just don't care about the plot. It's confusing and stupid, and it takes I think John and James wasn't on there, so I want to get James's thoughts on this because I was talking about how I think he was. I don't know. I compared this to the original Morlun story that JMS did, where I think that was a concept like with the whole spider totem that I didn't really like that much, but I feel like the story's execution was really good, so I still think it's a great story.
I don't mind that Morlun story. I liked it. It's one of the reasons.
Yeah, I really like
the GMS.
I mean, if we're gonna be honest, it's probably in my top 5 Spider-Man stories, and that's. I have a cold. I'm sorry.
Cliffhanger at the ending, I say it's the greatest cliffhanger in the history of Spider-Man, where she has that ripped up Spider-Man costume in her hand and Peter's all bandaged on the bed. And then you have to wait 2 months.
That is made...
Because the month after that was the 9/11 special. So you had to wait 2 months to find out what happened.
That scene at the end of that issue, that scene is made by John Romita Jr.'s pencils right there.
Yeah, I agree.
That is one of his... I think that's one of his highlights of all time.
That shot of Aunt May's face as she just has that ripped costume and she sees Peter all bandaged up in the fetal position on the bed, bleeding everywhere. That's beautiful artwork.
Well, and what I liked about that story was that it was like the mythology, like the kind of complex idea of the inheritors and Morlun and all that stuff was in the background. The focus was on why Peter is Spider-Man and the whole power responsibility idea. And I think that's why I like that, because it had everything I like about a Spider-Man story, and it felt like a Spider-Man story. And it came down on the conclusion that that it doesn't really matter how Peter got his powers; it matters what he does with them. And I think.
And another thing, the whole Spider Totem. I know a lot of people complain about it, but if you see JMS's work with, let's say, his stuff he did with DC and the stuff he did with 4. Especially with 4 because of the magical elements, and the stuff he did with his other books and sci-fi shows he did, the Spider Totem kind of fits in perfectly with that. That was like, okay, this is my first arc as the writer of Spider-Man. I'm going to retell the origin for the fans, who are jumping on with me, but I'm going to say it with my own little twist. Well, maybe the spider was a magical god spider that gave Peter's powers and not the radioactivity. The radioactivity gave the spider the powers, but he was destined because it's some spider god. Said so, prophesized it. That's how I took the story.
And I think that it's like, that story is just like, it's really good. And I feel like this is kind of a follow-up to that, in a way.
Well, the other is technically the follow-up to that.
Yeah, but I haven't read the other, and I've heard nothing but crap about it. So but this kind of has some of this, like, this is a story within that. This is kind of a follow-up of sorts to that story, even though it's like a follow-up to that like idea. And I feel like this just craps all over that. And everything that made Moreland so creepy and menacing in the original story is undone by him just being one of many characters like that. And I just didn't care for this Spider-Verse at all. I have literally nothing positive to say about it, so I'm not even going to talk much.
All right. Well, I think I'll give my general thoughts on the issue, and I guess on Spider-Verse in general, since that what seems to be what's going on here. I didn't hate Spider-Verse clearly as much as these two did. I think Spider-Verse had good parts to it, but obviously fell apart because of definitely elongation of the plot.
God.
There was no way this should have been 6 issues. If I'm being honest, this arc probably you could have done in 4.
If I don't know if I want to read forward.
John, I won't say I hate it because hate's a really strong word, especially when it comes to my favorite character, Spider-Man. I'll say I'm disappointed at it because this is something that I, as a fan, always wanted to see, and it's kind of like it went out with a dud. It went, that was it. You know, kind of like it's like watching fireworks and you're ready. Okay, here's the big one. This is it. This is it. This is it. And you get like a little poof. That's what it felt like.
I feel like I wouldn't say maybe hatred. I don't know. I think the best way to describe this is that I don't sit around going, "Oh man, Spider-Verse, it was so bad." It's more like it managed to make my favorite character and my favorite comic book a chore to read. You know, and that's really difficult to do. Like, I love Spider-Man, and I've always been a huge supporter of his comic and all of his different series. So the fact that I did not really have any fun reading a Spider-Man comic, and that I actually found it to be something that I kind of had to force myself to do, is, I think, a testament to how just uninspired and boring I found this whole thing.
I mean, of course, that's your opinion. I fully respect that. Personally, I didn't think it. I enjoyed it, I think, a bit more. I think I enjoyed it probably more than like 95% of the fandom. If you go on some of the forums and listen to some of the podcasts or whatever, I mean, there's a lot of negativity about this story. Personally, I thought it was better than I think most people, but I mean, I'm not going to deny that there are flaws with this. Some positives about the issue. I like the artwork. I think the artwork by Ken Coley and Coy Pell is fairly strong throughout. I think their styles mesh well together so that when there is a transition between the two, yeah, it's noticeable. It's not so distinct that for it will notice it right away. I think choosing them as a pair in this worked well. I think it worked well as a creative choice. However, what I did not like about this story was the freaking dialogue. Was I the only one who found the dialogue in this issue to be just? It was. I mean, I don't know if it. Maybe I'm just being fickle with it, but did the dialogue in this issue seem absolutely atrocious? Like,
I mean,
I'm not.
It had its moments to me. I'll say that right now.
I mean, just most of the dialogue. To me, it felt like I was. To me, reading this issue, the dialogue felt like it was written for the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon, not for Amazing, not for the Amazing Spider-Man comic. And I thought that was a big problem with this issue.
Well,
it's just the dialogue is just awful.
Well, I haven't been watching the cartoon, but aren't they doing an episode adaptation of the storyline or something like that?
Yeah, they just did a big 4-episode multi-part adaptation of this storyline. It was I actually watched it. It wasn't that bad, honestly.
Well, just on a random little thing, talking about that cartoon, I just want to say the one thing that I kind of like about that cartoon is the Green Goblin. I think the guy who does the voice of the Green Goblin is really good in that show, so I always enjoyed, like, the few times I've watched it, I've always thought the Green Goblin was handled relatively well. And I think Norman's relationship with Harry is okay, but and the voice acting isn't terrible on a whole, but it's just not it. The cartoon feels like the Spider-Man comics now, where Peter's an idiot who has to rely on other superheroes to get the job done. Like, I joked that like the current Peter in both the cartoon and in the comics would, like, lock it, like, he'd have to call Thor to get the keys. Like, if he locked himself out of his car, he'd have to call Thor to solve the problem. Like, that's what happens on a weekly basis. It's ridiculous. Like, I'm tired of Spider-Man, like, being an idiot and having to have other characters bail him out all the time.
Well, I don't want to get too much on the cartoon, but I'll just say this right now. I always felt really bad because Marvel, when they got bought out by Disney, had either in development or were already being made or was already being made. Two very, very well done cartoons. Marvel, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and Spectacular Spider-Man.
Yep.
Disney, the second they got their hands on it, canceled both of those and replaced them with Ultimate and that Avengers Assemble crap.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, I think both of those were very tragic losses because Earth's Mightiest Heroes is a freaking good show.
Yep. As is Spectacular Spider-Man. So
I just because today on Netflix, because I've been watching Daredevil, but in between some of the episodes, like, wow, this is really gory. I'm gonna go watch a couple episodes of the old Spider-Man here on Hulu real quickly, or Earth's Mightiest Heroes, and then I'll go back and watch the next episode of Daredevil, and then rinse and repeat because literally that show's awesome. It's a cheap plug. Daredevil, that's an awesome show. If you guys got Netflix, you better be watching it.
Daredevil is amazing. I like Daredevil as much as The Flash, and anyone who follows the show knows that is pretty high praise coming from me. So.
But anyways, back to Spider-Man. Does anybody else want to talk about Spider-Girl in this issue?
No.
Because how they...
Oh, you mean... let me read you the actual dialogue from this scene, okay? This is what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the freaking dialogue in this book, all right?
I am Mayday Parker, daughter of Spider-Man, and I won't do it. I won't seek vengeance, only justice.
Thank you.
I'm not doing it for you.
Okay, I just offended about every single woman on the planet with that voice. But, yeah, I apologize. I'm not a male chauvinistic bastard.
I like how you made
that is the
Steve Urkel. Like, now whenever I read my old back issues of Spider-Girl, I'm going to hear Steve Urkel's voice. Thank you, John.
You're welcome. That's what I do. I ruin things on a professional basis. But that is the kind of dialogue I'm talking about with this issue. I'm sorry, no one talks like that.
That was the exact panel I wanted to bring up. Because it was like, get it? I had her where she didn't kill, even though the whole thing was vengeance, and she didn't kill him because she's the daughter of Spider-Man, and she learned a lesson. Dude, she learned that lesson in her own book. You can't just have her learn a lesson that she already knows, and then say, I made her learn a valuable lesson. And it's because 616, Peter. She already knew that. It's in her own series.
Well, and you know what, is I think I realized why the dialogue in this issue is bad, and I'm not trying to be a jerk or personally attack Dan Slott or anything, because I don't like when people do that, and I'm not attacking him or anything. I'm just saying I think Dan Slott is a really good person. He's like a really good writer when it comes to ideas. I think he's great for plotting and everything, but I don't think he's the best guy to actually directly do the stories. And I think even though we haven't talked about them yet, I think 16 and 17 are good proof of that. Since I know for sure I'm checking the issues. Yeah, both 16 and 17 I think they were directly written by Gabe.
That's why.
And Slott did stories.
That's why I think my favorite Dan Slott work when I go back, it's really sad because where he is now to me as Spider-Man writers go, and where he was when he began. When he was part of the Brain Trust, I thought he was the best. He was the best of the best of them, and he was really well done. And even with some books he was doing in post, not in the Spider-Man world, where it would be Mighty Avengers or She-Hulk. But I think it's because he had to do what was ever going on in the main Avenger books to have it fit in, or the main Hulk book. So he always had that little check and balance. And with the Brain Trust, he had that too. He had that little check and balance of not only the editors, but also the 4 or 5 other writers on Spider-Man that he had to keep in balance with. Once he became the solo writer of Spider-Man, all gloves were off for him, and then he went off the deep end. And that's not a shot. I'm not trying to be like one of those people who wish death upon the man. I'm not that kind of person. But you can kind of see that starting with Big Time, what I like to call the fall of Dan Slott when it comes to writing Spider-Man happened, where a lot of his flaws became obvious to me.
And I want to read another panel out of this book that is just so awful, clunky dialogue. This is after this is actually on page the first 2 pages of the issue, where Gwen Stacy, in poetic justice, Spider-Gwen manages to take out an alternate Green Goblin, and she says, "Thanks for trusting me on that." And Spider-Man's like, "No, thank you for showing me that today anything's possible."
That's taking around fucking Power Rangers. The Pink Ranger will do something. Wow, Pink Ranger, thank you for showing me the Red Ranger that girls can do stuff too. Girl power episode in the next week. Wow, thank you, Red Ranger. You taught me teamwork. Girl power, Green Ranger.
I mean, just this
superhero shit.
This dialogue is just. I mean, it's. Everyone has their off days, and I guess this was just an off day for this comic because.
But you know what I mean,
the dialogue in this book is not good.
You know what I mean, John? It's that kid's superhero show, like a Power Rangers or a G.I. Joe, where you had to have the moral lesson of the day where the hero's like, you know, I learned something after that fight with a villain. You know, they had to, and that's like what it is. It's like, hey, I learned that Gwen Stacy.
It's like what I
Green Goblin's ass on the bridge that night.
I mean, it's like what I said. It's written like the Ultimate Spider-Man cartoon. It really is. And then, of course.
Maybe if he knew about the adaptation, like maybe Dan Slott thought that, I have to write the dialogue that way because that way it could fit into the comic book. I mean, fit into the cartoon. But at the same time, it's like, no, because they would have to change it anyways for TV. So,
I mean, and then of course, I mean, the one thing I did like about this book, and this is just because maybe this is just because I'm a fanboy, but I liked that Spider-Man didn't kill the Inheritors. I liked that.
Like, I understand. I don't like Spider-Man killing bad guys ever, so I didn't.
I thought Spock was going to do it.
Spock killed the Master Weaver.
Well, I know Spock killed him, but I thought he was going to kill them all. He was going to kill Morlun. He was going to kill them all. Because he's your Spider-Man who, if you want to do a killing, he's your go-to guy pretty much in a storyline like this.
Except for maybe that punk Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, I can either see a Spock killing them or Spock putting a part of his, since he knows that Peter is Peter. Peter's the main Spider-Man in the future, not the past. I thought that maybe he might put a little bit of a backup plan inside one of the other Spider-Men as they left, too. Like maybe as all the worlds are departing, he put like a little bit of that golden octopus thingy, maybe like a little tiny Spider Tracer version of that on one of the other Spider-Mans. So that way when he died with Peter and he got re-raised, it's just, I went to another Peter Parker's body, and I'm the Superior Spider-Man, so now you can have Superior Spider-Man versus the Amazing Spider-Man comic.
Well, we'll talk about that when we get into the next issue, but, I mean, is there anything else we want to talk? I mean, it was just a big fight, and there wasn't a lot of meat to this issue. There really wasn't.
When we get to the epilogue, I'll give my overview of the story. It just feels like there was a lot of wasted opportunity that fans wanted to see. I mean, that they didn't get.
It does. I mean, I didn't think there was a lot of good humor in this issue. I thought the art was good. Inheritors, the ending with Silk, I really didn't care about. And this is just another thing this is another negative aspect of this issue for me. The whole Karn switching sides thing. They wanted this to this comic clearly wants you to believe that this is a big deal. You really need to get emotional and you need to say, "Yeah, go Karn." Correct me if I'm wrong, but
nobody cares.
I was going to say the exact same thing.
Well, yeah, no one cares. No one cares. But I'm actually going to point out like an objective reason for why this doesn't work.
No one cares.
Karn,
after the other, a lot of people had. Oh, sorry, John. You cut off for a second, so I didn't hear you. Sorry.
Karn, in this entire event, he was in 3 issues prior to this, and he did. The whole thing about the Amazing Spider-Man portion of this was that you were going to be able to read only Amazing Spider-Man and get the full story. Every other book was just supplementary, just a little bonus for if you're willing to spend the money.
Turns out
that clearly does not. What?
I said, turns out that was bull crap.
Yeah. But if only you bought Amazing Spider-Man like I did, you barely even know who Karn is. Karn was mentioned in I think a total of 2 panels. I think he was mentioned in the backup to issue number 9, which was part 1 of this story. But after that, he was in a total of like maybe 1 panel in the entire series. And then we just get this whole dramatic thing of he comes in and he's supposed to save the day, but the reader does not have the necessary necessary build-up to get the emotional response out of it that the comic clearly wants you to have. So, big problem there. And that's from more of an objective storytelling standpoint than a subjective standpoint.
That's the storyline. It's a lot. Because like I said, there's a lot of things that, as a fan, I was like, oh, an alternate universe Ben Reilly. Oh, he gets to interact with Peter, and oh, he's gonna bump into Kane. What's gonna happen when 616 Kane's gonna bump into a Ben Reilly? Is he gonna still be the kind of heroic Scarlet Spider he is now, or is he gonna immediately snap into must kill Riley? He was in the Clone Saga. All this stuff, this Spider-Man, what's going to happen with Spider-Ham and the other comic relief Kitty Spider-Mans and the cartoon Spider-Man's all going to team up. And instead we just get shit.
Yeah. Basically.
All right, so I think we've talked a lot about. I think we've just bit with this issue. There's not a whole lot to discuss. The art was pretty. Story beats that just didn't work. I don't think there's much development otherwise with this issue. There's a lot more that actually happens in the epilogue of this issue than the supposed final part of it. So I guess we'll go Jan, thumbs up, thumbs sideways, thumbs down on this issue.
Thumbs down.
James?
Thumbs up. No, I'm joking. Thumbs down.
No, James. Don't go to the dark side.
I have to give it a thumbs down as well. This was not a good finale to this overall arc. I thought Spider-Verse started off a bit stronger, but this was not a satisfactory. And holy crap, there's Darth Vader.
Yeah, I went to the dark side.
No.
I'm actually playing the Star Wars theme in my concert in my wind ensemble this season. It's awesome.
Cool. My school did Star Trek this year, so ironic.
Yeah,
we're doing Star Wars, E.T., and Jurassic Park all in the medley.
Oh, it's nice timing for Jurassic Park too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. The next marching season, I'm going to be graduated, so I'll be gone. But let's see if they can pull One Direction out of their butts for marching band. Oh man, I'll have to come back and see that.
You like One
yeah,
Direction?
Just kidding. I'm neutral on One Direction. Okay, let's stop talking about boy bands. Let's talk about
you're the one talking about boy bands, John.
Yeah, you
Yeah, I know. Yes, I did start it.
I mean, I'm
proud of it.
Kid. I'm a '90s kid. Don't make me start talking about my NSYNC.
Oh God.
Oh
no.
yeah.
Bye.
Or let's pull out the Backstreet Boys here.
Get your crap under control, both of you.
All right. How's this? Do you think this is crap too, Jan?
Yeah.
I knew it. I baited him right into that. Okay. Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, number 15, Spider-Verse Epilogue, a.k.a. the story's still not freaking over. Basically, going through the Spider-Verse epilogue here, the spiders of the various worlds are heading back to their home dimensions. Mayday Parker manages to go back to her home dimension and sees that Mary Jane are actually still alive, but unfortunately the Peter of that world, he wasn't so lucky. But Uncle Ben that we were introduced to, 2 issues prior, the one that was basically the opposite of the Uncle Ben that we knew, he followed her, and he's going to stay there and be a grandfather to Benji. And Mayday Parker is going to become Spider-Woman with her father's old Spider-Man outfit. Okay, yeah, we'll just leave it right there. So basically, back in the Inheritor's home dimension where the Great Web is, Leonard Nimoy decides to go nuts, like in that one episode of Star Trek, Amok Time, I think it was called. Leonard Nimoy decides to go nuts. No, Spock goes nuts, starts ripping apart the Great Web, and then all of a sudden we flash to 616, where Julia Carpenter, Madam Web, starts freaking out again, like she's been doing for the past... Has she done anything other than freak out in the past 2 years?
No.
This has been her since they made her the new Madam Web.
That stupid lizard story.
Since Craven's Craven's Next Hunter, whatever, the Grim Hunt, whatever the hell the fuck they call that storyline. Since they made her the new Madam Web, she's just been, there's a terrible disturbance in the Force, young Parker. Cry about it. Don't do nothing. Bye. Come back. Rinse. Repeat.
Let's give another example of great dialogue here. The great web of life and destiny. Every strand is being severed. I see nothing.
Over the top.
Oh, like every time she claims she sees nothing.
All right. So the spiders, they're like, okay, spiders of other dimensions, you need to get out of here right now. Miguel O'Hara takes this chance. To exposit the ending of the Superior Spider-Man series to Spider-Gwen. For anyone who didn't know how this issue was going to end. So Spock starts punching people in the face. With the Master Weaver basically out of commission, Silk wonders, should I take her spot? Or his spot or whatever. And so Silk decides to stand there and ponder that for a bit. Peter and Ock go basically head-to-head. It's kind of the second rematch that we've all been waiting for. And Peter says, let me read some more dialogue here. Ock says, we'll finally see who's the greater hero. Peter decides to exposit, no contest, Otto. A real hero wouldn't have threatened to honor the fate of the hero. Others in front of them. That day, the day you finally accept that I am the superior Spider-Man. And so, yeah, basically we got that clunky dialogue. But as Ock is taken down, we see that he actually has set up a little fail-safe plan, whatever, with his little Anna Maria virtual assistant. Now, Anna, as we discussed, entering sleep mode for 100 days and counting, Doctor. So Karn decides to become the new Master Weaver. They send Spock back to his home time. Spider UK discovers that his world was destroyed. Kane is actually alive, and we get an advertisement for the new Secret Wars Spider-Verse book that no one in their right mind is going to buy. And the final 2 pages of this book are my favorite in the entire arc, where Spider-Man comes back home. He stops a purse snatcher. The woman thanks him, and he says, "Wait, a thank you? Am I sure I'm in the right dimension?" End issue. All right, my thoughts on this issue. This issue was actually, I enjoyed this issue a lot more than I did the previous issue. I thought that just going through it, I thought that there were a lot better character beats in this one. The art done by a consistent artist this time, Camuncoli, doesn't have the advantage of having Coypel's gorgeous splash pages in there from time to time, but overall Camuncoli is a very solid penciler. He and his art team do a great job. I did enjoy some of the fights. I did enjoy the fight between Peter and Ock, and I felt that this issue was overall much better than the previous one. It was a nice kind of end cap to this whole arc. But again, the art as a whole, tedious to read, overly long, and just not what we were expecting. But James, any unique thoughts on this little epilogue issue here?
I literally, when I went to my comic book store, I thought this was the beginning of the next arc, the Peril of Parker Industry or whatever it was called, like the next arc. I went to I was going to get out of my. I thought I was going to get that out of my pull list. And instead I see Spider-Verse epilogue. I'm like, son of a...
That's my worst nightmare, is to go.
So not the best first impressions of...
And
I would say.
This was just... It was okay. I do kind of like how they at least gave Mayday a semi-happy ending. I say semi because it would have been really super happy if Peter would have been revealed to have been alive. But, the great God that is Joe Quesada in all these universes now said, nope, can't be a happy Mary Peter Parker or Mary Jane. One of the two have to be dead or divorced, so he's dead.
Do you wonder if, after Tom DeFalco's comment about how about how the story in Volume 3, Number 8 was a bad progression for Mayday's character. Do you think they just did that to appease a pissed off Tom DeFalco? Bringing back MJ and Wes, because it was very clear that they had no intention that they were actually still there, and this is clearly a retcon.
Yeah, I think that he might have said, hey, at least, I think it might have been a bait and switch where he goes, well, at least have something where, like, the timeline gets altered or something like that because of the events, and they're back alive, please, like, begging him. I don't want to say he begged and pleaded, but I could see him arguing that, no, my Mayday and everything would not go down this way, and the compromise was like, okay, we'll bring back those two. We won't give you Peter, but we'll give you those two.
All right, any other thoughts?
Yeah, the Mayday part, I kind of like it because it was kind of a nice ending, but at the same time, it really felt like another FU that, haha, you can't even get this universe to marry Peter and Mary Jane happily ever after. Even this universe has death and destruction or whatever. And, because remember, that's the one thing that they said back in One More Day with Mephisto, no universe in the planar reality Peter Parker can ever have that happy ending with Mary Jane. So they made sure they had this one had that too then. Sorry, I'm getting way too much into the Spider marriage. But this issue also had the other things. The Spock parts I like, because it showed Spock, oh, if I can't be the only Spider-Man, nobody can, kind of, I felt like, when he was destroying that. I know that's not what was exactly said, but that's what I felt like. And I love how Peter's like, no contest, dude. I got my body back. So your whole, who's the superior one? If I got my body back, doesn't that kind of answer your question for you?
I will interject here. There was one line of dialogue. I don't. Was it in this issue or was it in? I think it was in this issue, where Ock says, "This is the only way you can best me by outnumbering me," and Peter says the founder of the Sinister Six, and Ock's just like, "Touche." I thought that was clever. I did.
No, but I love that line because it just shows Ox kind of in his head he's a hypocrite because he has his ego so much he thinks he's better than everybody. So when there's thousands of Spider-Man, it's like, oh, you got to go get a spider army on me to take me down. He's like, dude, you invented the Sinister Six. Oh yeah.
I mean that was a continuity reference that we don't mind that was funny.
If Ock would have just said it, I honestly think that half the fans, it would have flown by their heads. They wouldn't have got the reference that, oh, it's irony because he's the guy who was the leader of the Sinister Six all these years.
Yeah, it was better than like...
But so by him bringing it up, it wasn't beating you over the head with it. It was just a nice little, yeah, you invented the Sinister Six. Oh, touche. It actually fit and felt natural.
Yeah, it was better than like when Jameson would...
It wasn't like Spock saying, you have to outnumber me, Parker, and I invented the Sinister Six. It wasn't like him saying it. It was Peter calling him out on it, so it fit.
And it was better than like Jameson's wife walking by and being like, "Hey, remember when I invented Spider Slayers?" And then
you said that 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
All right.
The worst part is when she died when they brought it up again. It's like he had to twist that knife one more time, where she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna be back. Don't worry. How are you gonna come back from the dead? I invented Spider Slayers. That makes me a supervillain." I'm like, "Oh, come on." And he's like, no, you're redeemed. You're good now. You don't do that. Oh, well then, have a nice life.
Well, see, I actually liked that part. That was clever. That was the only like Spider Slayers reference that I didn't mind, but the rest of it I thought was kind of annoying. Where it's like, hey,
it's not meant to be. It would be like Peter will be having a bad day. Oh, it's just I'm having a really bad day, and then it's her at the Bugle with Jonah and all them. And Peter's like, I'm just having a bad day. Doesn't want to say it's because of a villain fight. But I'm just having a bad day, my wife Mary Jane, and I got a class to teach with my students, and my aunt's sick, it's a lot annoying. She'll go, oh, that's good, Peter. Oh yeah, by the way, I invented the Spider Slayers. Shut the fuck up.
All right, James. Any other thoughts on 15 here?
Really quickly, yeah, they all go back to their main worlds, or they think they do. In the case of 29.9. Everything, it feels real nice, and then you get that big splash page because you demanded it. Spider-Verse in Secret Wars. We're going to tell you that sometimes you got to shut up and take your medicine when it comes to the marriage, but because you demanded it, we're giving you this storyline, a sequel in Secret Wars. because you demanded it. We tell you what to shut up and take your medicine about other things, but this one you demanded and we're giving you.
So you're not exactly happy about that, are you?
I don't see the point of it when there's already 2 other Spider-Man worlds in Battle World. You got Know Your Vows, you got Ultimate Spider-Man, who's going to be in the main Manhattan, and then you got Spider Island. You don't need. I think even is Clone Saga one of them?
I haven't been keeping that much track of.
I think the Clone
Secret
Saga
Wars.
is one of them too. So yeah, Spider-Verse is not needed, especially if the Clone Saga is one of them.
No, we do not need the Clone Saga.
There one for Spider Island?
There is one for Spider Island.
It's Renew Your Vows and Spider Island, and I think the Clone Wars has one too.
Did you guys?
But it's as a.
Just off topic. Did you guys like Spider Island?
I liked it.
I thought it was alright. Yeah.
I liked how it was kind of a sequel to the Clone Saga, with all being, well, the Clone Saga.
It was like the Jackal that I like. Like, I thought the Jackal was pretty entertaining throughout.
The only thing I don't like is in all the build-up to that, the Jackal is in the 90s Jackal look, which makes sense because in continuity, that's how he looked, you know? And then, but when the main storyline started, it's like Dan Slott goes, yeah, I grew up with the 70s. Let's give him back to 70s costume. But everything in the build-up, he's in the 90s suit. Well, we'll just say that one was a clone, too.
If you see the Jackal, it's a good chance it's a clone. All right, so Jan, what are your thoughts on Volume 3, number 15 here?
I'm less negative about it. It had a few. I thought the stuff between Peter and Otto was pretty good. I thought the ending. For me, the ending was almost like waking up from a bad dream. Like, oh God, okay, thank God we're back into Spider-Man. He stops a mugger. Like, okay, you know, it was like waking up from a nightmare. I mean, like, okay, we're back into the territory that I'm comfortable with. It was like that scene in the most recent X-Men when Wolverine had a nightmare that consisted mostly of like X-Men Origins Wolverine footage and X-Men 3 footage, and then he like wakes up. It's like, oh, okay, you know, that was a terrible comparison, but
it's better off to say you woke up from a bad dream, and then you start going on this tangent about the X-Men movies.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm sick, and I haven't gotten a ton of sleep lately, so yeah.
All right, but any other specific things on it?
It was all right. Like, I'd probably give it like a thumb, like that. Like, I didn't hate it or anything. I'm just happy that this stupid thing is over and I can finally read and enjoy Spider-Man again.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I was much more positive to this issue than the last one. As I said, I like the Mayday Parker stuff. I like that MJ and Wes are alive. I like Mayday's progression. I liked her becoming the new, another Spider-Woman. Give me a Tom DeFalco, Ron Friends Spider-Woman title with Mayday Parker. You have my money right there. I will buy the heck out of that.
You know what? They won't do that, right? Well, they probably will not do that now. That series.
I know. I fully know that that's not going to happen.
They won't do it though, and it's going to be for the sole reason of I have an idea or a feeling that if they did do it, Tom DeFalco in the first arc is going to have Peter come back from the dead at the end of it, and they're not going to want that.
Oh no, I fully know that DeFalco and Friends are not getting a Spider-Woman title, but I can dream. But you know, the one thing I didn't like, I mean, there were some parts about this issue I didn't like. Keep the frickin' Julia Carpenter Madam Web out of this. She's frickin' stupid. Okay, not frickin' stupid. I'm not a fan of her. When she does something interesting, I will like that character. But she's done nothing interesting She has not done anything interesting in the 5 years that she's been Madam Web. So yeah, let's give some depth to that character. The Karn stuff with him becoming the Master Weaver. Again, I've discussed my issues with Karn. I just don't care about him. So that's a negative point for me. Overall, I give this issue more of a thumbs up than I did the previous issue. I think overall I'd give this issue probably a thumbs up, but there were problems with it, but I honestly did enjoy it, so it gets a thumbs up for me. What about you, James? Did you give this issue a relative thumbs up or thumbs sideways, or what'd you give it?
I'll give it not a thumbs up, not a thumb medium, not a thumbs down. I'll give it kind of like right here. It's more of a thumbs meh.
Kind of like a thumbs 40 degrees.
Yeah, I'm going to coin this term out of respect to my friend Zach, because Zach is watching this right now. He used to joke that whenever it became spring, that the icebergs are turning to ice meh. So I'll homage that by saying that it's a thumbs meh.
Thumbs meh.
The one thing I will say is, thank God the Marvel-Sony deal didn't happen until after the storyline was probably already in the presses. Because, oh my God, can you imagine what Dan Slott would have done if he would have had the movie Spider-Man's in his disposal, and of course, being a company boy he is for Marvel, he kills off Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man in a comedic, oh, shucks, they're dead because they're idiots, or something like that.
Yeah.
I would have dropped the freaking title.
Me too.
He would have killed off Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, and in the blood, he would have wrote down, F you, Jonathan.
I would not have been. That would have been the only reason to do that. Glee stuck a few middle fingers up directly at me every time the Warblers were on screen in the final season. Yeah, I'll talk. I will talk about Glee at the end of the show when we do shoutouts. But not in a negative way, honestly. All right, so we're gonna move off of Spider-Verse.
Thank you,
Did you hear
Jane.
that? That's Jan. That's Jan clapping. That's Jan clapping.
Can I say this quickly? The thing that sucked about our month and a half, 2 months off from doing the show, was that it prolonged Spider-Verse for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't bookend it until you talked about it with me.
Well, I could have, but in the back of my head, it's like, damn it, I gotta remember this stuff, because as soon as we get the show again, we're gonna talk about this.
All right, so we're going to move off of that, and we're not going to tackle 16 and 17, the main story yet, because those are the two parts of the next arc, and I actually want to get this first Gary Conway issue out of the way before we tackle that, because it's the only part of his story that we're tackling this month, or actually this week rather. But we got Amazing Spider-Man number 16.1. Part 1 of Spiral, written by Gary Conway, art by Carlo Barberi. I apologize if I'm pronouncing that name wrong. I think that's how you pronounce it. But Amazing Spider-Man Spiral, Part 1. Basically, a basic summary of this issue. There's a gang war that is erupting in New York City thanks to the Kingpin's downfall. And Captain Yuri Watanabe, yeah, remember her? When was the last time she showed up in the books? I think it was the end of Superior, wasn't it? I don't think we've seen her.
Was she even in Superior? Because the last time I remember seeing her was Negative, back in Brainy Day.
She was in Goblin.
She was in Superior.
She was in Goblin.
I probably mentally blocked half of Superior out by now.
Yeah, if I remember, you did not like Superior Spider-Man.
I gave it an F.
I think I read like 6 issues of Superior, and it was the last arc. And I thought it was mediocre.
I honestly, John, I love you like a brother, man, but there's a little part of me that hates you because of this damn show. I had to goddamn read that shitty storyline that I hated so much. Because your exact words is, when you join the show, you got to read the main book. That was one of the things. And I go, sure, I can jump back on, read the first new issue, which was the Venom thing, and I'm like, fuck.
I'm pretty sure those weren't my exact words because I'm not that nice of a person. I'm pretty sure
I still got the email. Your word was exactly something like, "Oh, one thing. Our only real requirement is that you at least read the main Amazing." I'm like, "Well, I mean, a main Superior story." And I'm like, "Well, I dropped the title, but I'll pick it up again then."
I'm pretty sure my rules were you'll read the book. Damn it.
You didn't say the damn it. You were trying to be nice because I think you didn't want somebody to say "screw you" to you. And then to walk out and you didn't get a new co-host?
John has
you were
on us
nice
making sure that we read all the books he wants us to read.
It wasn't until after you said, okay, you're on the show, you're in, and I downloaded a couple episodes of the podcast. I'm like, well, I got to download this thing and hear hear these guys. And then I get to some of the stuff that you and Thomas are saying, and I'm just like, what the fuck did I get myself into?
James, John is the Kingpin. He's like making us read all these crappy stories.
I have hair though,
Yeah.
and I'm also
Hey,
I'm
Kingpin is awesome in Daredevil. So if he's the Daredevil Netflix version, that's awesome. Except for the part where I'm not going to spoil it, but what he does to the one Russian mobster. Yeah,
funny.
I hope John doesn't do that to anybody.
Can I be the '90s show? Can I be the '90s animated Spider-Man Daredevil? Or not Daredevil. Kingpin. That guy was awesome.
No, he wasn't. He was an idiot, and he just basically did the same recycled intro over and over again of leaning forward menacingly in his chair.
Okay, John, you're the '90s Spider-Man Kingpin. Jan, you're Michael Clark Duncan's Kingpin.
No, I don't want that one. That one's terrible.
And I'm the cool, badass one from the new Netflix series.
You're the first.
Michael Clark Duncan.
Wait, Jan is the first person of. Jan is the first person I've ever heard dislike Michael Clark Duncan as the Kingpin. He's the first person I've ever heard not like him.
The one from the Netflix show.
He was the one thing good. How do you not like him? He was the one thing good with that Daredevil movie.
I would argue, I don't like him, but he was just kind of, I don't know. I don't think he was he was all right, I guess. I don't dislike him. I like Bullseye more in that movie.
Yeah. Basically, because the way me and Jan have been talking this episode, our recommendations and our goodbyes and all that stuff at the end of the episode, you know what we're going to bring up. We're going to keep on just talking about Daredevil.
Yeah.
All right. Back to this freak. Okay, so Tombstone shoots a guy. Yeah. Okay.
The issue's over.
Basically, what happens? There's a gang war. Yuri Watanabe's trying to deal with it. Spider-Man shows up. Someone in Tombstone's gang opens fire, and so Spider-Man swoops in, takes out Tombstone. Tombstone, hands him over to the police. But basically, the charges are dismissed because I think the warrant that they had for his arrest was actually. Let me read you the actual dialogue here from the judge. Pursuant to the court's determination that the original search warrant was defective. Okay, so basically, the search warrant that they had on Tombstone was actually not legal due to some problems within the police force. So basically,
it's a Freddy Krueger thing.
Basically, that pisses Watanabe off, and there's an officer that got shot in the ensuing chaos, and that happened to be Watanabe's. I believe it was her mentor. It was the man who taught her everything about policing or whatever. So Peter Parker,
at least it wasn't
guilty.
George Stacy. It wasn't J.D. Wolf or it wasn't George Stacy who was her mentor. I'll give them credit for that at least.
Yeah, I will say that. That was good. We get Peter Parker feeling guilty about that. Mr. Negative shows up literally out of nowhere, and hands over some incriminating evidence to Captain Watanabe. She reads it. Judge Howell receiving illegal drugs from. That's one of Tombstone's guys. So basically, the judge who let Tombstone go was actually being bribed by him, basically. But the police, the officers won't do anything about it because they haven't gone through an official investigation. So Watanabe's like, yeah, okay, to heck with this. I'm gonna put on a ridiculous costume and go find the evidence myself. Spider-Man's like, I have a feeling I should stop you, and she's like, yeah, I dare you. Try me. So they both go. They try to investigate some tunes. They try to get some evidence. Watanabe blows stuff up. Spider-Man's like, you can't do that. People could have been killed. And Watanabe's like, working by the rules is for the cops. The Wraith is not a cop. And Spider-Man's like, I have a very bad feeling that Watanabe just made a very bad choice. So this issue. Yeah, I'm gonna pull out Darth Vader again, James. All right. This issue.
No.
I find your lack in faith.
All right. Are we gonna get sued if we're using music? Okay, probably not. Because we're singing.
What you got from being a crime lord with
John, we're safe. John, we're safe. Disney owns both Marvel and Star Wars. If they're not coming after us for doing a Spider-Man show, they're not coming after us for Star Wars.
And who knows? Anyways, we're singing it badly. All right. So basically, this issue, Amazing Spider-Man 16.1. I apologize if that recap wasn't as good as well, okay, if that recap wasn't as of upper quality as my other recaps, if it was of lower quality, that's just because my mind was going blank throughout some of this. But overall, I like this issue a lot more than I did the Spider-Verse ones. And that's not to say that I disliked Spider-Verse. I liked Spider-Verse a lot more than most people did. Spider-Verse had its problems. Spider-Verse definitely had its problems. But this got back to the basic street-level Spider-Man that I absolutely adored. This felt... The big thing I loved about this issue was it really felt to me like this issue could have taken place probably around the 1980s, probably around Tom DeFalco's first run on Amazing Spider-Man. And I draw a lot of parallels between, this story reminded me a lot of the old gang war arc in Tom. I don't know if all of it. I don't think all of it was written by Tom DeFalco, but Amazing Spider-Man number 284 through 288 is actually what I'm referencing here. That gang war story in the later part of the 1980s. That's what this story really reminds me of, and I really, really enjoyed it. I think Barbari's art is good in places, but it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. His style, I think the style overall fits the tone of the story. It's a bit grittier, and that's definitely what the mood of the story is trying to convey. But I think just art is a very subjective medium, and I think it's just personally some of these characters are not drawn as I would like them to be. That's more my problem, not really an objective art problem. I don't know what makes good art and what doesn't, so I'm not going to try to pretend to have an objective opinion on it. An objective and opinion are completely redundant words. I don't know why I just use them in the same sentence. But overall, I felt that was okay. I felt that the voice for Spider-Man in this issue was fairly decent. It was kind of hit and miss, but overall, it was decent enough. The only part I felt was a bit lacking in this issue. I felt that the focus on Watanabe was a bit too much. I really, really like her story in this issue, and I really like the dilemma that she faces. Do I follow strict cop proceedings when I know that something bad is happening and I can deal with it right now, or do I go against everything I've been taught and deal with this in the way that may not be ethical? I think that's a dilemma that a cop should have to, that a cop in this situation would face. I mean, I can't say from first person perspective on that, but I like that dilemma. And I really did like Watanabe's story in this issue. I just wish that she didn't overshadow Peter Parker so utterly. I felt that really in this issue it was more of a 60-40 split between Watanabe and Peter, with Watanabe taking the majority, and I felt like it should have been the other way around. With the Amazing Spider-Man title on the cover, Spider-Man should have the main focus of the book. It wasn't so overwhelming that it ruined the issue for me, but overall, I felt that this was a stronger issue than Spider-Verse. So, James, you have not read this issue from what I know. So
yeah, I like Conway, but I decided to trade away for this.
So, Jan, we're gonna go to you. What are your overall thoughts on 16.1 here?
I really liked it. I thought it was really a strong return for Conway. I'm so freaking happy that we're getting to organized crime stuff again, because I think Spider-Man is a really good character to use for organized crime, because Spider-Man's unique in that he deals with both more like fantastical things, and then he also deals with organized crime, because Spider-Man is he involves himself in any situation where someone might get hurt. So, he's fought all these different types of things, and I think organized crime has always just, really worked well with the character. And it's been so long since we've even really had organized crime. Slots Run really hasn't done much with the organized crime. I think the last time
Black Cat, kind of. That's about it.
Yeah, Black Cat a little bit, but I think there was some stuff in Brand New Day, but it hasn't really.
Negative was all him, pretty much.
Yeah.
The one that's immediately coming to my mind right now is that Return of Anti-Venom story years ago with Mr. Negative, but that's kind of bordering on it.
The one with was that New Ways to Die?
No, the Return of Anti-Venom, issue 663.
I am so sorry. I'm really tired right now because I have a cold. So if I'm
there was also There was also that one where it's like Spider-Man and Black Cat, where it ended the whole Mr. Negative storyline. Not the Mr. Negative part, but it ended the whole Aunt May underneath his control part.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that was back in that. Oh man, that was back in Brand New Day. Oh man, that was so long ago.
But yeah, so it's been a while since we've had a really good organized crime story. So I don't know. I really enjoyed, seeing that back, and I don't know, the organized. It's kind of so old it's new again almost, and I think this just felt like a breath of fresh air for the series, and I think Conway has Spider-Man's voice really well. I think he's one of the great writers, and I don't know. I think that one panel where you see Peter, Peter says something about like going too far and what can happen when you go too far, and you see Superior Spider-Man in the background, and in that one panel, Conway nailed Peter Parker. No, that came out wrong. Conway was able to get Peter Parker more than like Slott has gotten in the entire last 2 years, because in that one panel just captured Peter's guilt at what Ock has done without being over the top about it. It was really subtle, and I thought it was just a great moment. And that was just I think Conway is just a really good storyteller. So I don't know. That scene where Peter said, when you take things too far, nothing good can come out of that, and you see Spock in the background. That was a really cool moment. And it brings me to mind, we haven't really. Has there been any guilt over what? I guess there was kind of with what Otto did to Electro, but I feel like Peter hasn't been worried about righting the wrongs of what Otto did enough. He hasn't really addressed. Spider-Man shot a guy on live television in the head.
Dan Slott didn't want to write Peter Parker as of right now. He wanted this to still be Spock, and because of that, the main title, Peter Parker, is just there.
I think it was made clear somewhere that the only reason Peter Parker came back is because Amazing Spider-Man 2 came out.
Yeah. Yeah.
With all the stuff Marvel's been doing with the X-Men titles and the Fantastic Four titles to try to sabotage Fox, I'm surprised they even did that for Spider-Man.
Yeah. So.
Because I think Spider-Man's a lot more profitable than the X-Men or the Fantastic Four are currently. Spider-Man's more of a.
I'll agree with that, but at the same time, I could see Marvel being like, we need to get these rights back. And that's kind of what they're doing with the Fantastic Four and X-Men. I felt like, they were sabotaging while either canceling series or ignoring stuff, like they've been doing with those titles. And here, it's like Spider-Man, they didn't do that, because I think for all we know, the negotiations were already going on between them and Sony, for all we know.
Yeah. So, yeah, I really dug this one. I thought it was a really enjoyable issue, and it was kind of, basically just the first chapter, so hopefully, this is a good story when it's over. But I don't know, I just think something about this one had an energy to it, and it felt like Spider-Man again, and I haven't felt it feels like it's been so long since I read a Spider-Man story, and that's weird, because it hasn't been, but what I've been getting for the last 6 months has not felt like Spider-Man. So I really dug it.
So would you give this one a thumbs up, Jan?
Oh, totally.
I give it a thumbs up as well. I enjoyed this issue. The only complaint I have is that, again, the main complaint I have is that Watanabe overshadowed it a bit. But I really did like her. That's not to say I didn't like her story in this. I really do like her story. Just a bit more focus on Peter Parker would have been better. But overall, I felt that this
more focus on Peter Parker has been the problem, or what? Not enough focus on Peter Parker has been the problem for a while of with Spider-Man.
You just can't get rid of a bomb.
What? I'm not going to ask it.
I was reading.
Wait, did you not get that joke?
Paperback. I was reading my Batman trade paperback. Sorry.
No, I
John, have you seen?
Joke. I didn't.
Okay, he said some days you can't get rid of a bomb.
Because I didn't read the storyline yet, so I've been reading this as you guys have been talking, and you're talking about all this stuff and your pros and we get to talk about your cons. So I just decided that because it's '60s Batman, I said just some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
Yeah, I get the joke. I just didn't hear the joke. Okay. Okay. So I guess that'll pretty much do it for this issue. I guess.
Yeah,
Another.
yeah.
I guess another positive aspect of this issue that I just liked. I like seeing Tombstone. Tombstone is Tombstone's one of those villains that you don't always see, but I just enjoy Tombstone. I think he's a very fun. I mean, he's not really supposed to be fun. He's supposed to be like scary and menacing, but he's fun in a different way. It's just I like his character, and I really like him in this story. I haven't read a lot of comics with Tombstone in them, but from what I do know of the character, he's a fairly fun, entertaining villain. So that was just another positive.
Like, book one that will. I don't think I've read any story with the comic book Tombstone because he's mainly in the 90s, and I think he was introduced in the 90s, right?
He was introduced in the 80s.
He was introduced.
It was in the 80s. It was
like late 80s, early 90s is my weak spot for my Spider-Man collection, so I haven't read really anything with Tombstone, but the one I know is from the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, and I don't know if that's an accurate representation, but I like that version of Tombstone.
He's really kind. He's not the mainstream Tombstone as you would say, but I mean that's a great iteration of the character, but it's a much more
Spider-Man cartoon. Is that what you guys are talking about?
Yeah, the version of Tombstone.
Yeah, the one that's basically we couldn't get the Kingpin rights back from Daredevil, so let's just make Tombstone. He's a close second, right?
But I think it was still a really cool version of the character, and it was kind of interesting to see like we'd already seen Kingpin be the main villain of the 90s show, and I feel like making Tombstone one of the main villains of Spectacular gave it its own identity. So I have no problem with them not using Kingpin. But yeah, anyway, that's completely off topic. But I really dug this issue, and I'm looking forward to whenever the next one comes.
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, Magneto, I think, was like the main villain who showed up most of the time.
Did we lose John?
John
left the call.
Hopefully we'll get him back later. Well, until John comes back, welcome to the Daredevil podcast.
James, the Daredevil Flash podcast.
No, just Daredevil right now, because like literally Flash, I'm going to wait then for Netflix or whatever, or Hulu to catch up, because I'm completely on Daredevil.
How far behind are you on it?
I'm not. I watched the new episode. I'm just joking that Daredevil's taking my spot right now.
Is Flash a second at least?
What?
I said is Flash like a second favorite?
Flash is my favorite superhero network show. Let's just say that.
I apologize for my dropout there. My iPad just crashed. So
it's okay. We would like to welcome back Jonathan to the Daredevil / Flash podcast.
Okay, okay. You guys didn't drop off of the issue, right?
We started talking a little bit about Daredevil. Does that count?
Yeah.
Okay, Jan gives 16.1 a thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
I give 16.1 a thumbs up as well. So we're gonna move off of that.
Thumbs up for the cover. That cover is pretty awesome. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yes, anyone who hasn't seen it, who's watching on YouTube, if you're listening to this on iTunes, you unfortunately can't see this, but on YouTube, that's the cover right there. Pretty nice cover.
But I have a question though. I didn't even know the Crime Master was still a thing, or not the Crime Master, the circus guy, the one with the weird hat.
The Ringmaster?
Yeah, the Ringmaster. Like, has he even showed up since the 60s?
Yeah.
He's been in there.
Villain, and an Avengers villain since then.
Oh, I haven't seen him in anything outside of like Silver Age Spider-Man. So I didn't even.
Jan, you don't want to start getting into him and his crime and his circus of crime, especially Princess Python. Just go download those old episodes of the Amazing Spider-Man classics, because my God, those stories about what happened to Princess Python after those Spider-Man appearances, you gotta literally see it to believe it. Or in their case, if it was a podcast, hear it to believe it.
That sounds terrifying.
All right, moving off of the circus of crime, we got Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, number 16 here. Parallel at Parker Industries, The Graveyard Shift Part 1, The Late Mr. Parker. Dan Slott and Christos Gage, writers, penciler Humberto Ramos, or Ramos, I'm not sure how you pronounce that.
That's how it's pronounced.
So, basic rundown of the issue. Spider-Man is battling the iguana, someone we haven't seen since the late 70s. So he's battling the iguana. Meanwhile, he gets a call from Aunt May and Jay Jameson, who are at an auction to buy something, to just buy stuff, because that's what old people do, I guess. And they say, "Oh, are you and Anna Maria still coming over for dinner tonight?" And Peter's like, "Crap! How do I tell them that I broke up with Anna Maria? Oh my gosh! That Parker luck." So we get
How
that.
about I told him I broke up with my girlfriend? Says the guy who had a girlfriend die, a wife he sold the marriage to the devil to, another ex-girlfriend who's now a crime boss, other ex-girlfriends who disappeared off the face of the earth, another one who kind of went crazy after marrying Harry Osborn. Yeah, what do I say about this girlfriend's breakup?
Yeah.
Meanwhile, Anna Maria and Sajani are pissed at him because he's late to a Is it a business pitch to these people about their new supervillain prison? I guess that's what it is. And they're going up against Alchemax, and I think it's Alchemax and some other companies. So basically, the iguana's getting pissed that Spider-Man's on his cell phone while fighting him. Legitimately, let me read this dialogue here if I can find the page. Hang on. "Stop talking on your phone, human. I have a legitimate grievance about the plight of reptiles." That was funny. I enjoyed that. So Peter starts expositing the reasons why their supervillain prison is going to work and is necessary. Meanwhile, Alchemax is in the Department of Corrections meeting where they're pitching their version of a supervillain prison. And their staff includes Liz Allen, Tiberius Stone, and their head of security, I believe, Mark Raxton, Liz's half-brother, stepbrother.
Mark Raxton was freaking reformed. Why is he a villain again? I don't understand that.
What? Yeah. Because continuity's a noose.
Yeah. Okay.
So
because they need a reason for him to in 2099's timeline. They need a reason for him still to be the mastermind behind everything that happens with the 2099 universe.
Wait a minute. Mark Raxton was in 2099.
Is that the one who ended up being the one who's pretty much was the domino effect for 2099, or is that somebody else I'm thinking of?
I don't know.
That was Tiberius Stone.
Oh yeah.
Stone. I'm sorry, I get those two guys confused all the time.
Okay, so Mark Raxton, the former Molten Man, is the head of security, and they're like, "This we can reform supervillains. Just take my take my brother here.
I'm sorry, I'm stupid.
Just take my stepbrother here, the Molten Man." So Alchemax comes out of the meeting. They see Anna Maria and Sajani. Peter walks in. Oh my gosh, I'm so late. Liz Allen's like, you used how many classes were you late to in high school? And Peter's like, "But I always came out on top. Remember, I was valedictorian." And Liz is like, "Man, Peter always did have a way of snatching victory from the jaws of defeat, and he's really got that Einstein-Rumpel genius thing going on. I wish there was some way to throw a monkey wrench into his plans." And Tiberius Stone and Raxton look at each other ominously. Meanwhile, the Black Cat is, getting busy with some
60s Stan Lee issue with Liz Allen.
So the Black Cat's beating up on some people in a club where Raxton and Stone meet up with the Ghost to sabotage Parker Industries. That's the main story. Now let's talk about this thing in the back of the issue. Black Cat and Repossessions, Part 1 of 3, Stolen Memories. Black Cat is brooding. Oh, that's Marvel's favorite word. Black Cat is brooding over all of the things she lost and all the things she now has to get back. But then there is one little moment in here that gives a glimpse of hope to all of us readers that's completely crapped away in the next issue. The one, I think it's the Ringer that they have here. Yes, the Ringer, because that guy's still around.
I was
yes,
like,
the Ringer.
Like, how is he still alive?
The Ringer is begging her for mercy, and Felicia considers it for 1 second. She considers it. She has that moment of actual Black Cat mercy. Oh crap, we're going to actually destroy that. So Black Cat's like, so my bad luck powers increase when I go bad.
Which makes
Your bad luck. Wow, your bad luck powers increase when you do bad things. Wow. Oh, isn't that clever?
Did someone
so
say
Felicia's like, well, I'm gonna.
Well, I got a question for that.
So I'm.
Wait a second.
Hang on.
All right.
So Black Cat decides, okay, well, I'm going to steal back everything. I know exactly what I'm going to do now. I'm going to steal my life back. Every last bit of it. To be continued. All right, well, James, what's your question?
I forgot what I was going to ask. About the Black Cat thing, what you said. I think about first. Ask Jan something and I'll think about it. Because literally it just popped in my head.
That's okay. I tend to render people speechless. All right. My overall thoughts on this issue. Main story, I like the main story. I do. I think that this main story is a good return to form for Dan Slott on Amazing Spider-Man. It's a very simple story. It's a fairly down-to-earth story. Nothing too fantastic about it, and I mean that is in like the big spectrum, the mystical spectrum of fantasy. There's nothing too fantastic about it, but that's also relevant in terms of quality. There's nothing too excellent about this story. It's very much a part one type of issue. It's a lot of setup and exposition, but there's really nothing offensive, in my opinion, about the main story. I think there's a lot of promise for. When I look at the first part of this main story, there's a lot of promise for a decent arc to come out of this. The big problem with this thing is the Black Cat backup. Someone else go, because I'm not sure if...
I'll go because I remember...
Just go, James.
Yeah, I will go because I remember because of my two big complaints about this back issue. One, wow, my superpowers of bad luck work when I do bad things. To explain why they also worked when you did good things back when you were a hero.
That is a good point. I did not think of that.
In the issue's defense, it's not that they didn't work; it's that they work even more. They're enhanced or something.
It could be argued that they were just as bad at if Spider-Man in the 80s and even Brand New Day when they brought it back, he was anywhere near her for a long period of time, it's just the bad luck built up about all the stuff that could happen to him.
By the way, can I just say that power is really stupid? And I don't like it. I think it's just a dumb power.
I think they did it because in the 80s they had to justify why a normal girl without superpowers can go
They give her super strength or something like that. Why do you have to give her a
Black Cat, so you gotta give her bad luck powers. That's why, because she's the Black Cat.
Stupid. I don't like it. I think it's like a dumb power. It doesn't make any it stretches my suspension of disbelief.
My other complaint about this issue, and I have seen other people complain about this too across the internet. She's a whining bitch in this issue about, I can't be the rich Felicia Hardy that you all know before no more. And it's all Peter's fault because when he had Ock in his brain that he hit me and then that ruined my street cred, and now I have to get it all back by killing him and being a crime boss. Let
me point out something there.
Catwoman would say that. Catwoman would say that in the Batman comics. But it fits with Catwoman. That's her personality. That's her character. Black Cat, it's so left field. She's not in the baseball stadium no more.
The Black Cat. When has the Black Cat ever cared about street cred?
Yeah, that's a good.
When Dan Slott wrote her out for Superior.
It's
literally.
When has the Black Cat ever cared about this? And the Black Cat, when does she go so far as to basically outright murder people? I mean, she's got a ringer here strapped to a chair. She's torturing. You can see the blood coming out of his. Okay, he's not strapped to a chair. That's the chick in the next issue. I will go off on that. But blood coming out of his nose, black eyes everywhere. She's absolutely tearing the crap out of him. And is he even alive at the end of this issue? Did she just kill him? I'm looking at the panel right now.
I think she did. But it's comics. They can always just say they know I survived if they want to have him for another story. But
Exactly. But it's just like, what is this? This is not Felicia.
it's not. It's Dan Slott. This is a weird thing. If this was any other writer for Marvel, I can see them doing it. But Dan Slott's supposed to be the champion of what I grew up with in the 80s and the 70s, and this is not the Black Cat who you had in the late 70s, early 80s. Yeah, she started off as a villain, but she redeemed herself. She became a full character. She had a story arc. She started off evil, and then she became good. Then she found out Peter married. Then she found out who Peter was, and then she didn't really like that, and that caused their relationship to end.
If I'm being honest, I think the term villain to describe Felicia in her early appearances, I think that's a bit much. I would say anti-hero,
Antagonist.
at least antagonist. Yeah.
He was a bank robber. If I recall, wasn't the cat from that one early college that she her dad?
Well, she was.
Yeah, she was
She wasn't like, killing anybody. She wasn't like hurting.
Yeah, she
anyone.
was. She wasn't outright.
But she was robbing banks. She was like a Silver Age villain almost. Like where she didn't kill nobody, she just robbed banks.
Well, yeah, but it's like basically she wasn't so much a villain as somewhat of an anti-hero.
She was a good person who did bad things. Is that a compromise we can say?
Yeah. She was misguided, I guess.
And like I said, she had steps of her characters. She evolved. She changed over the years. And yes, you can say that for the last 10 years, especially after Peter married Mary Jane and you couldn't really have the sexual tension no more between him and Black Cat, that her character kind of went down and was stuck in this weird spot. And I'll agree with you with that. But there was a lot more better ways to write Black Cat than to immediately make her the mustache-twirling supervillain. And because, like I said, if Brian Michael Bendis would have wrote this, I can say, yeah, this is really weird and out of character, but I guess I can see him doing it. Anybody else in Marvel, DC, or anybody who even thinks about writing a comic book or a fanfic about a comic book, I can see maybe they'll do that. But Dan Slott, who's supposed to be the champion of making Spider-Man back to the way he had it when he was a kid and all that stuff, and he turns Black Cat into a psychotic bitch who wants street cred.
It doesn't flow.
Yeah.
It's like I hope they do. It's like if they end up doing another Black Cat storyline down the line where you find out that Mr. Negative like puts a mind control thing on her and that explains it away, I'll be okay with that. But as of right now, it's nothing like that. It's just I'm evil because fuck it.
I agree. It's
Lisa Hardy. She might have that name.
I will say that I like her new costume though. I think that her new costume looks cool. But
I do agree. I like the new costume as well.
This ain't Felicia Hardy to me. Nothing about her it screams Felicia Hardy.
Nothing. I mean, the one bit of hope that we had in this issue, where she thought about giving the Ringer mercy, is completely destroyed a page later. It's so sad.
He's staying on the character. Oh, is she going to start her redeeming storyline here? Nope, no, she's not.
It's just awful.
Can we talk about like the main story?
All women in the storyline are written weird, except for Mary Jane. Liz Allen's wrote in like a mustache-twirling supervillain, which she had her moments of being that good girl doing bad things kind of thing over the years. But she was never outright evil. Here she's basically Norman, a female Norman.
See, I kind of argue with that because I didn't read that. I didn't read that whole scene of her saying, "Oh, if only someone would throw a monkey wrench into their plans." I didn't read it like that. I read that as she said that just vaguely, not meaning it, not intending for them to take it that way, and they took it that way because of their own nature. I didn't read that. I didn't read it like that.
If that is superior storylines with her, it comes off though as she's turning into a female Norman. She's an Osborn, kind of thing. That's what it felt like.
I mean,
it's like she doesn't have the Goblin mask, and I think we lost Jonathan again. But I'll just say this real quickly: it just feels like that's what they were doing to her.
Yeah.
She's been spending with the Osborns. I mean,
John, are you back?
Yeah.
John.
I just didn't read it that way.
John. We completely lost you. We would not hear a word you said.
Yeah.
Did we lose him again?
So about that Daredevil.
Yeah, about the Daredevil. Episode 3 was really good, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that the Kingpin's introduction was him just like looking at art. It was really funny. Like there was nothing villainous about it.
And the artwork's not even really artwork. It's just a blank white piece. And the lady says, "Because it's a snow. What did she say? It was like a bunny rabbit in a
snowstorm." Yeah. Anyway, back to the Spider-Man podcast.
Yeah, because I think John's back finally.
Yeah, he's making weird.
I took it as that, and that's Liz. I can see Liz saying that in the '60s, like, "Oh, puny Peter Parker. You know, he always thinks he's smarter than the rest of us and Flash Thompson. But I'm going to show him off. I'm going to make sure I do something to sabotage the stage when he goes up to do his valedictorian speech. Because I'm the evil, mean girl cheerleader, Queen Bee. Ha ha! Like, I could see that with the Stan Lee, Steve Ditko stuff in the 60s. Here, with her supposed to be older and mature, and she's like, oh, saying that stuff, it's just like, no, it comes off as a bitch to me. Supervillain or a bitch.
So you really didn't like that part of this issue, did you?
I like, for somebody who doesn't like Ramos' art, I will say some of those panels were really beautiful. Like the one where...
I really like Ramos in this issue.
The part where like the two crocodiles or alligators are coming out of him at the water, and you got like the anaconda like coming at his face. That was a really good panel. Like I just pulled it up on my Comixology right now. And I just love that.
I really like Ramos throughout this issue. I thought Ramos did a great job in this issue.
I hate the homage to the 60s they kind of did with the whole, I can't tell Aunt May I broke up with my girlfriend. Why? Why?
Because he's Peter Parker.
It's like that old school mentality when you read those old issues where it's like, I can't say I like spiders because then people are going to immediately know I'm Spider-Man. That's what it's like. It's that sleeping logic. I can't tell her I broke up with her. Why the fuck not?
Yeah.
You had a girlfriend that died. You're just breaking up with somebody, Peter.
Yeah, it was...
All right, but any other specific thoughts on this issue?
Well, let's talk about like the actual story and not just the Black Cat. Like, what do you guys think of the actual contents of the issue?
I thought it was...
If we're doing the thumbs up, thumbs down system, I'll give it the medium, the middle small medium.
I give it a thumbs up overall. I thought it was a good, solid return, and I think mostly because of Christos Gage, because he's a really good writer, and he's like the hero of the Spider-Man books.
I'm thinking thumbs sideways for this. When I look at the Black Cat story, that brings it down to. I mean, this would have been a thumbs up easily, just based on the main story, but factoring in the backup, it's definitely a thumb sideways. The main story is just mainly exposition. It's your standard part one of a story. I like the art. I like the fight with the iguana. I thought there was good banter in the fight with the iguana. The main story showed promise in its first part, but unfortunately, the backup story brought the issue down to a thumb sideways for me. And so we segue off of Volume 3, number 16, into our final issue of the night. Man, we're reviewing a lot of comics, but that's what we have to do to catch up. Amazing Spider-Man Volume 3, number 17. First of all, I really like this cover by Ramos here. Spider-Man on the wall and the ghost coming out behind him. I really like that. Basic rundown of the issue. The problem that James had with the last issue is addressed on the first 2 pages because Peter and Anna Maria are at dinner with Aunt May and Jay Jameson, and Anna Maria basically comes out and says, "Oh, sorry, Aunt May, we broke up." And then we get this really just out of character moment from Aunt May.
Oh yeah.
Sorry. That's my Peter letting another wonderful girl get away. I suppose I understand it's hard to be partnered in both work and life. Thank you for handling this so well. I'm gonna get.
God,
oh my gosh, I'm gonna get it.
I used to have the animated series Aunt May as the one I read, and now I got Frog Lady.
That's gonna come back to bite me. So
I'm Aunt May.
So Peter's like.
That's what she sounds like from you. I'm Aunt May.
And then Anna Maria is like And then Anna Maria basically says to Peter, Peter, you're an idiot. That was so easy for me to do. Why didn't you do that before? And so Anna's like, okay, now we need to get back to Parker Industries. Okay, well, I can't swing you there. Yes, you can. And so she basically and so they swing. So in a full splash page, they swing past a billboard with Mary Jane on it. Is she advertising Chanel? I think MJ by Chan. I'm going to assume that's Chanel or something. So they're swinging past a billboard with Mary Jane on it, and I have to say, seeing Mary Jane even on a billboard, that was probably the best part of this issue. It made me realize how much I miss her in the books. But so they swing past a billboard, and Anna Maria's like, you know, you really didn't think that anybody bought the idea that you were disassociating yourself from Spider-Man, did you? And then Peter doesn't respond. She's like, you did? Seriously? You bought that? She's like, no one bought that. I can't believe you did. And so back at Parker Industries, Sajani is going on her usual rant about how she hates the supervillain prison idea. And then Anna Maria's like, oh, hey, okay, Sajani, we broke up. And Sajani's like, what? I should have known about this. Meanwhile, the ghost is infiltrating Parker Industries, takes out a security guard. They do a test of the supervillain prison technology, but the ghost has taken over the controls and is making the tech attack everybody. Most of the employees manage to get to safety, but Sajani decides that she needs to basically do what she did with the Black Cat back in the first arc, and try to negotiate with him, I guess. So what she does is she goes back there. I don't know what James is doing right there, but that's kind of scary.
I'm hitting my head on my computer because literally this issue, back when I first read it, really bad, and now you're reminding me of every reason why I didn't like this issue.
So Sajani goes back to negotiate with the ghost, but ends up taking a ghost claw to the torso, I guess. So Spider-Man goes back there to save her and sees, oh my gosh, it's all my fault. He doesn't actually say that, but I'm sure that's where this is going. Meanwhile, we get let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more pages of Black Cat BS. All right, this issue, Volume 3, number 17. I guess Jan dropped out of the call, so I don't know where he went to. So James, we're going to give your thoughts on Volume 3, number 17.
It's bad. I don't like this issue. The breakup part, like I said, I didn't know why, but I felt like when they did get to it, it would have had some good qualities to it. And to my surprise, or not to my surprise, because recently how Spider-Man's been written, it comes off as, well, with that Parker luck, even his Aunt May calls him out on all his breakups.
That was a scene I really didn't like, if I'm being honest, because it's just like...
My problem with it is Aunt May, especially the 60s, was trying to get him to break up and cheat on every girlfriend he had. Whether it would have been Liz Allen, Betty Brant, Gwen, not really too much Gwen because Dan really tried to write here as the one, but a little bit in the early days, you know, Gwen had asked for her approval, Aunt May's approval to date Peter. She wanted all those relationships pretty much to go down the crapper because she wanted him to be with Mary Jane, remember? Now she's like, oh, Peter, you know, you let another one get down. Just like Carly, remember how perfect she was after we told you about it every issue? And now Anna Maria, you let another great one go away, even though I was really racist to her when I first met her.
Yeah, I remember that back in Superior 23. It's not even so much that, it's just like, I don't remember Aunt May being so freaking condescending to her nephew that she was always like, oh, make sure you take your umbrella. Oh, make sure you dress warm. Oh, make sure you eat.
She was like that in the 60s and 70s and 80s and even all the way up until like the 90s. It wasn't until like JMS that she really started to stop doing that. But she loved her nephew.
She's not like this.
Eddie Brock could have gave her photographs of Peter doing immoral, wrong things. And she'll go, nope, those are Photoshop. That's not my Peter. That's not Peter. That's wrong. That's somebody else. That just happens to look like him. She would never, ever think that her beautiful, sweet nephew could do anything worse than, oops, I spilled the milk. And here, since Brand New Day, because that swing shift one shot, she makes a line about Peter can't be responsible. Ben didn't teach him that. Even though every comic before that, she always brought about how responsible Peter was, but I'll forgive that. And now you have this, where it's, my nephew let another one get away. Really? Aunt May, of all people, the one who wanted him to pretty much wanted an arranged marriage, marry Jane to him before he even met her, is going to go there to him? That's not Aunt May. That is not Aunt May. Go back and give us a real Aunt May. I don't know who that is, but that's not Aunt May.
I did not like that scene at all. What I did like, I mean, I liked that this issue dealt with some of the problems. I mean, it gave Anna Maria, it made Anna Maria seem like a stronger character, but the problem with it was at the expense of Peter. This is more of kind of what was happening in that 2-issue Ms. Marvel team-up with Spider-Man back just before Spider-Verse, where it was Anna Maria kind of pointing out all the stupid things that Peter's been doing really since the start of Big Time. This is a continuation of that trend, but it's at the expense of Peter's character, and basically it's at the expense of all of his credibility. Yeah. And when you build up your supporting characters at the expense of your main character, that's a storytelling flaw right there.
And the worst thing about it is there's this thing that I like to jokingly call the Emily effect, because there's a character who was on Friends who married one of the character Ross, and this is kind of a running thing with Friends where to keep the Ross and Rachel relationship going, they would have them in between them being hooking up with other people. And when it seemed like whenever you started to like the person they're with now, they immediately did the breakup episode where they made him out as this immoral, indeemable person that you were happy they were gone in one episode. And that's the effect I feel like that they're almost trying to do here. That everybody's giving Peter shit for another breakup, and even Anna Maria, and then you got the Mary Jane billboard. So it's telling you, yeah, we're breaking her up because we are still dangling that Mary Jane carrot. We'll probably not give it to you. We might because Renew Your Vows is coming up. But at the same time, we might pull it. But here's that carrot. Here's another girlfriend who you shouldn't like because she's nagging at Peter, just like Carly. She's basically becoming Carly in this issue. Don't like her. Here's that Mary Jane carrot. We might pull it away from you, but we might not.
Not to say, I'll be completely honest, seeing the Mary Jane billboard was the best part of the issue, because it was like a small hint of what Spider-Man used to be, a small hint. Mary Jane.
I took that as that. It was a reminder of Mary Jane's on the billboard, and it's to get you to think, well, maybe they're building up to, okay, now that you got him away from Anna, and he now kind of sees her as this nagging chick, and then you got the Aunt May thing. Oh, Peter can't be why can't Peter find the right girl? It's going to lead to Renew Your Vows where he's with Mary Jane. Or, like I said, Marvel could just yank that carrot away from you, and then it ends up being another reason why they shouldn't be together, and then introduce the new love interest after Secret Wars or whatever.
All right. I did the last main thing I didn't like about the main story, because I was not a fan of this issue very much either. I'm with James on that. I did not like this issue very much, but the other big problem that I have with this issue, for the love of gosh, don't off Sajani, because I know exactly where that's going. It's going to lead to one of those other, oh, it's all my fault if I hadn't done this, and this, that had no correlation to Sajani being a moron whatsoever. You know, I didn't do anything, but it's still going to be all my fault. It's like, I know we're going to get that scene, and I'm just not up for it. I'm really not.
But to be fair, Peter's always like that. I mean, he can literally open up the Daily Bugle, go to the obituaries, see that an old man died on 5th Street, and he'll go, no, if only if I would have turned around with my spider web when I was web shooting at that exact time, and I would have went to 5th Street instead of 5th Avenue, I could have been there to save that man's life, even though he died of old age. Why? Peter's always been like that.
Yeah, but just in this current era, it feels so much more exaggerated, and I can't deal with it right now.
Yeah, and then, I'll pay for that.
And then Oh, and just as a little Easter egg for James here, this is something I literally just noticed. There's an ad in here for Awesome Con in Washington, D.C. The original Red Ranger from Mighty Morphin Power Rangers is on there.
Yeah, I already know about
It's a little Easter. It's a little Easter egg. I didn't know if you noticed. It's in one of the ads in this book.
You name a con that's been added in the last 2 years, so it's not really that big of a news story to me anymore. That's why I didn't bring it up here.
The positive thing I liked about this issue, I liked the Ramos art. I thought Ramos did a pretty good job with this issue once again. And to be honest, I like the Ghost. The Ghost is an entertaining villain for me in this story. I haven't read anything else with him, so I have no point of reference as to whether he's in character or not, but I kind of like him in this story.
I kind of like him in this story. When Norman was running S.H.I.E.L.D. with Hammer, Ghost was one of the members of his Thunderbolts, and he was pretty good in that.
Yeah, I like the Ghost in this story. I think he's a pretty fun, creepy cat backup. I think we got most of our points out of the way here with the last issue, but Felicia takes this innocent girl and ties her up and tortures her. Well, okay, no, she doesn't torture her, but she shoots her in the back with these poison darts, and then she ties her up and keeps her prisoner. Oh, dear gosh, I can't even saying that out loud is painful.
Skip the Black Cat thing. I don't even want to talk about it. I'll go on another rant. I'll pretty much just rinse and repeat what we said about the last issue. Exactly.
So, not a fan of the Black Cat stuff. Get that stuff out of the book. So,
I hope that Secret Wars brings a big, massive retcon, new universe where the slate's all wiped clean and there's brand and everything's new again and fresh, because that way we can get the real Black Cat back.
Exactly. So I think we can both agree thumbs down on this issue.
I'll go Sisker and Evert, 2 thumbs down.
Yeah, I give it a thumbs down as well. I did not like this issue. I didn't really like this issue at all. So I guess Jan's not coming back.
Jan told me that he hated this issue before he came on the show, so that's for my 2 thumbs down. That was an extra one for Jan, for what he told me.
Okay, so Jan gives this issue a thumbs down as well. I don't know what happened to him. I guess his internet crashed or something.
Or he so much he said I'm out of it.
I don't know. Who knows what that guy. But we'll steal this segment from AGR. Final shout outs, James.
Yeah, Daredevil. The show's awesome. Check it out on Netflix. I'm up to episode 4, so please don't spoil anything past 5. I'll watch the rest of them tomorrow when I have time. Yeah, so that's one of my shout-outs. And my final shout-out, thank you for bringing up AGR, because literally when we were doing this podcast, we got final confirmation that there's going to be an Angel Grove Radio interview.
Awesome.
Because John Telligan, who was a writer on Power Rangers from Power Rangers Ninja Storm to Power Rangers RPM from 2002 to 2009, 2008, he's going to be doing a special interview live right here on Google Plus/YouTube with AGR, a Q&A, so check us out there. It's going to be Saturday the 25th of this month. Check it out. It's going to be awesome and badass, and I hope John doesn't mind me plugging AGR, but it's literally breaking news. Like, literally, it just broke on my text. So,
Awesome. Well, congratulations. Speaking of, well, first of all, any other shout-outs, James?
Just that, Daredevil, and I honestly don't know what else to plug. Your turn.
All right, I'll give my final shout-outs. This one's kind of old. It's about 3 weeks old, but since we weren't doing the show, 3 weeks ago when this show ended, I didn't get a chance to give my final goodbyes. But I want to give a shout-out to the cast and crew and everyone involved with Glee. For anyone who's been living under a rock for the past 6 years, obviously that was a show on Fox. It was a pretty major hit, very influential show. I still say that Glee paved the way for.
Cries over it. My sister still cries over it.
Glee paved the way for a lot of what you see in TV now. So Glee, I want to give my full respect to everyone who worked on Glee. The ups and downs, the highs and lows of that show. Just props to everyone. Thank you to the cast and crew for a great 6 years. Glee Glee was very influential to so many people, and it was absolutely you did good, Glee. Glee was a good show. It really was. So that's my shout out to Glee, and my other shout out is I want to give everyone a music thing because I'm a aspiring music teacher, and so I'm kind of into this stuff. But Alex Goot on YouTube, check him out. He mainly does cover versions of popular top 40 songs, but he does some original stuff. All of the stuff he does, pretty much, is very good, very solid. And I just check him out, Alex Goot, Goot. You will not regret it. All right. So with that, I guess the final shout out to Marvel, Stan Lee, Steve Ditko. All of them. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have Spider-Man. And also, I'm going to give a shout out to Andrew Garfield and Mark Webb, because even though I'm not pissed anymore that the franchise is over, I'm still gonna plug that. And you know what? When the MCU Spider-Man makes less money than their films, vindication will be had. All right, so I'm gonna get attacked for that.
You do realize that MC Spider-Man is gonna debut in either Avengers next month or Captain America next year, and that's gonna blow out both the Love movies grand total in one weekend. You know that, right?
Yeah, when the Spider-Man solo film comes out in 2017, makes $1 billion. I'm gonna have to eat my words, but that's 2.5 years away.
They'll put him in the Iron Spider suit and have Tony Stark guest star, and you'll have to eat your words.
Yep, pretty much. All right, so we'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for bearing with us after this hiatus. So see you later, Spider Nation.
Yeah, see you guys later. May the power protect you. Oh, God damn it, I just did the AGR thing. Wrong podcast. Great power and great responsibility, true believers. Excelsior?
It's all my fault!
Yeah, goodbye. So, it's later, John. And hey, whatever happened to Jacob